Coach is a joke. Your defensive coordinator's a joke. The players are a joke. Joke. The only guy that's not playing is the Joker himself, who gets hurt yet again with an ankle injury and still was the leading receiver, essentially, for the entire game. But it is a train wreck, and now the question has to be asked, where's the owner hiding and why? Good afternoon, Evan. How are you today, Ken?
Only the whole joke was funny, but there's nothing funny about this garbage we're watching.
Yeah.
Nothing funny.
You don't know, if you're a Jet fan, it's funny.
I'm a Jet fan. I don't find it funny.
No, you should find it funny.
Why?
Because for our entire existence, we've been mocked by the Giants and their fans.
You're right.
So now, welcome to our world. This is the world we live in. I don't want to be clear.
That's true.
We're no better. I'm not suggesting for a minute that the Jets have discovered the fountain of youth or the elixir of wins.
Right.
Welcome to our nightmare. And I'm not going to lie to you. I get great joy out of it. I get joy out of other people's pain sometimes. It's a character flaw. I'm working on it. I'm trying to be better with it. But every one of you knuckleheads that called in last week, oh, Carton, you're just being a douche. Carton, you don't know what you're talking about. Carton, blah, 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 blah. Back-to-back weeks, I told you, it's not a winnable game. Now, a couple things from this game, of course, to go over. Your head coach should be fired today. Why do you ask? Good question, Evan. Thank you for asking the question. You have a quarterback coming off the concussion last week, down 3 touchdowns, and no offensive line, because, of course, your left tackle can't stay on the field. And the head coach decided that it was proper for that quarterback to drop back 51 times once they were down 3 scores in the second half. Anybody want to walk me through that? Anybody?
We play 60 minutes right there.
Yeah, okay.
That was literally the answer.
Right. We play 60 minutes.
Yeah.
You put the guy's life at risk in a game that, and I'm not saying first half, clearly, the game was over. The Rams sat their quarterback. The Rams sat the best defensive player in the league. The Rams sat Jalen Ramsey. They all went to the sideline because the game was over. And this idiot has Daniel Jones dropping back with a garbage offensive line in a game that is over. I don't understand it. Maybe, I know you're with me on this. Can somebody walk me through that?
I'm totally with you, man. It's funny. On Friday when we were talking about playing him or not playing him, I obviously disagreed with you. I'd play him. But when I'm down 31-3... and this game is all but decided, and I have a bad offensive line even when healthy, I'm making the business decision to get him out of the game.
He's my franchise quarterback.
Yeah,
and he's played like it up until yesterday.
Mike Glennon is not my future. My future, or at least what I hope is my future, is Daniel Jones. So I agree with you. Now, I heard the other side. I heard Carl Banks, who I deeply respect, saying, hey, look, keep him out there. He's got to work things out with his receivers. I get that aspect of it. I do. But I'm also looking at the good of, hey, only bad stuff can come out of this.
Hey, can I ask you a question,
He
Evan?
can take a monster hit. Why risk it? Go ahead.
It's funny to me, and I heard Carl during the game, and he was very consistent on it, and I'm not knocking his take on it. I happen to disagree with it. You know, the preseason, when you work on things, they decided not to do that very same thing they did yesterday. They decided it was in the Giants' best interest that Daniel Jones essentially not play. Not build some type of rhythm with new wide receivers,
right.
Whether it's a draft pick or a free agent signing, speaking, of course, of Tony and Galladay and the other guys that are coming back. They made a decision not to do that, to be ready for the season. And you're telling me, not you, of course, but they're telling us, that in a blowout rout with a makeshift offensive line yet again, in a quarterback coming off a concussion, that's the time to get him on the field, to get reps in? Like, what are we doing?
I see the interpretation I got from Joe Judge after this game. He kept stressing, we're not going to quit. We play 60 minutes. I challenged my guys.
Okay.
First of all, it's embarrassing that you even have to challenge your guys. It's the NFL. Show up, even when you're getting blown out in the second half. So I think in his mind, and I'm reading the Joe Judge mind here, I apologize, was, hey, if I'm telling the guys we got to play 60 full minutes, I can't then take my quarterback out. I think that's what he was thinking. Mind you, I disagree. I'm lockstep with you.
Yep.
Once you're getting your ass kicked, and I've got an offensive line that's completely banged up, I'm getting him out because I got to protect him going into next week, which, by the way, and I'm sure you'll say this at some point this week, is a winnable game. A game that you actually could win.
I'll do you one better. They're going to win on Sunday.
They're going to win.
They're
Well,
going
they
to
better
win.
win.
McCaffrey's out again.
Yep.
And we'll get to that later. All right, we'll get to that. Don't worry, they're going to win on Sunday. And it's not going to mean a goddamn thing because the season's over. You're 1-5. Peace out.
No.
Thanks again.
Here's how it'll mean something,
Let's go get
Craig.
some draft picks.
Here's how it'll mean something, because I'm a fan like everyone else. You start to get sucked in when you start to win. Right now, winning feels foreign, because if you go back to 10-10 against the Cowboys, I think you'll like this. When they tied that game up 10-10, they have been outscored since that moment 72-21 over the last 4+ quarters. It's been embarrassing. I mean, think about that. Think about how bad they have looked. Second half against Dallas, I get it, everybody's hurt. We understand that. It's a part of football. A part of football is you deal with injuries. But you look at the second half against Dallas, you look at yesterday, specifically the second quarter against the Rams, they have been so outclassed, and the quarterback can't hide here because the quarterback had played well, but if you look at the 2 quarters against Dallas before he got hurt, and then yesterday, Daniel Jones has been awful.
Yeah. Now, listen, not good even by a long shot. I thought if you want to look at the game, the 4th down play obviously bites him in the ass. Can't argue it. Everyone wanted him to do it.
Yes, let me raise my hand on that.
Play call you wanted.
I love the play call. Yep. I love that Joe Judge went forward 4th and 1 from your own 41-yard line. Bottom line is it didn't work.
Yep, definitely have a concussed quarterback running the ball up the gut. That seems like a brilliant idea.
So you disagreed with the call?
No, I'm just saying it seems like a brilliant idea. Obviously,
look, you can't. Here's why I would disagree about that. Obviously,
let's have our concussed quarterback dive headfirst into the line of scrimmage. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, it does, because I think you've got to coach as if you're not afraid. Now, once you're down 31-3, it's a different story. But when I'm trying to win a football game and it's 4th and 1 from my own 41-yard line, to me, and I'll take the L here. I don't mind. I think that's the best play call you can dial up.
You should get it, obviously.
Yes.
You should get it. I'm not suggesting the play. It's interesting to me how little they care and regard for Daniel Jones' well-being.
It's not like they ran a lot of RPOs in this game. They didn't.
They kept him in the game for 51 passes in a blowout.
Craig, I agree.
They ran him headfirst into the line of scrimmage.
No.
Like, what are we doing?
Separate the two things, because I agree with the second part. Let's separate it. Let's look at the first half of this game when you're actually in it, when you had a shot.
They were winning after the first quarter.
I understand.
And the Rams didn't play anyone in the 4th quarter, so you basically gave up a 40 bomb in 2 quarters of play.
I'm just saying you've got to play to win the game in the first half. Daniel Jones's legs is still one of his strengths. I can't be afraid of it. And by the way, I told you that on Friday. Yeah. And you could disagree with me.
You're being consistent. I respect the consistency. I'm just saying, 2020 hindsight, that they don't care if Daniel Jones doesn't know his name in 5 years.
That's not fair.
And I'm gonna say something now, Evan. I've been thinking about it for a while. And whether you agree or disagree is irrelevant to me saying it, of course. You're, as always,
when would it ever be relevant?
An independent thinker. And my gut is that you're going to disagree with me.
Really?
But it's an overarching conversation that I think has to have, and I just want to be clear, I recognize when I say it, it's going to render me persona non grata for the rest of my life with the New York Giants.
That's an extreme statement we're getting ready to hear.
So I've given it a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say just to be shocking, ooh, the shock jock said something, whatever it is, right? I think it's accurate. And I've not lofted any trial balloons on it. I just think it's accurate, and I think it needs to be said.
Say it.
And you're not going to agree with it.
You don't know what I'm going to agree with. I surprise you sometimes. I do.
I think it's time that we make the following statement and that we put it out on the table. Okay?
Yes.
John Mara is Jeff Wilpon. Convince me I'm wrong.
Well, championships would be the first thing.
Okay.
That would be the first.
Prove to me where I'm wrong.
2011 and 2007. And outside of that, I can't argue, but I would
So you're
going to
tell me I had 2 championship years? You certainly don't take that away from anybody.
Yeah.
But since John Mara became the steward of the New York Giants, the last 5 years, that's been well documented.
No doubt. Can't argue
Worst record in football.
Can't argue
I thought Carl and Bob made a great point on the radio broadcast yesterday that this is the worst home team in football, too.
Yep.
They've got 9 home wins in 5 years.
And we went over it Friday. The stats of Daniel Jones home road is as night and day as it can get. It makes no sense.
Hey, listen, I'm very respectful of the 2 championships. I am. But you're talking about the son of Wellington Mara, very tough feat to grow up in. Again, when it comes to what Wellington Mara meant, not just to the Giants, but to the league. Mm-hmm. So I'm respectful that he's never going to be what Wellington Mara was. But where am I off in telling you that John Mara has had a brutal resume of hiring general managers, and if those general managers are not attached somehow to the legend of George Young, they've been even worse. He's had a brutal record when it comes to hiring head coaches here, right? So you now have the legend of Jeff Wilpon alive and well with the New York Giants. And I'm not wrong. Sorry. And it's not going to get any better because what are they going to do? Have a search committee with people related to George Young?
You know what's funny about that?
Is that where we're going to go next?
You know what's funny about
Ask
that?
Jerry Reese to come back and save us?
I hate to knock Wellington Mara because right now we look back at him as the golden age of Giant football. 15 years of lousy football, we've had enough. That was the phrase that flew overhead at Giant Stadium. And then you mentioned George Young. So let's be honest. Wellington Mara didn't hire George Young. The NFL told him to hire George Young.
That's right.
George Young hired Ernie Accorsi. Ernie Accorsi replaced George Young. Since
Jerry Reese worked for Ernie Accorsi.
Yeah, okay, so the cycle continues.
A tree there, yeah.
Dave Gettleman, same thing. Here's the scary part. The scary part is most Giant fans today, and they're not wrong, want to blow this whole thing up. Can't argue with that. I'm sure you'd agree.
I think that's the only way to go.
The problem is you are asking John Mara to find the replacement. And if we look at the lineage of Giant executives and the good ones and the bad ones, there's this line that starts with George Young. George Young was given to the Giants by the NFL. So if...
Well, maybe we should ask the NFL for help.
Yes. Well, Roger Goodell's got bigger issues to worry about right now.
Yeah.
But
like
that's
600,000 emails. Only one was bad.
Yeah.
Only one. John Gruden's the only, we'll get to that later, but John Gruden's the only guy that wrote a questionable email to Bruce Allen out of 600,000
Trust me,
plus emails.
The last thing on Goodell's mind is the Giants, but here's where you're sort of right. I would never compare anyone to Jeff Wilpon because my championship argument would be my argument.
Yeah, and I can't argue that, right?
And you can't, but here's where I can't argue you. And here's where even the Giant fan will say you're right. Hey, Giant fans, you trust John Mara to find the replacement for Dave Gettleman?
No, you can't.
Hey, John Mara, do you trust him, or Giant fans, you trust John Mara to find the replacement for Joe Judge if he loses his job? The answer is no. The hires have been abysmal the last half a decade. And so while I wouldn't sit here and go case by case on Mara versus Wilpon, what I will tell you is the approval rating of John Mara in this town, in this moment, is at a Wilponian level.
That's right.
And why shouldn't it be? You can't trust this organization moving forward. This was supposed to be the year where things came together. They spent money, a lot of it during the offseason. They have used premium pick after premium pick over the last half decade because they've sucked. That's why. And this was supposed to be the year you win. Well, here's the reality. They're 1-5. And to your point, Craig, in 3 of those losses, 3 of them, they have been non-competitive. This game against the Rams, the second half against Dallas, and week 1 against Denver.
We're going to get all your calls on it because that's the purpose of this radio station, to let real fans vent. And I know you want to vent. And yes, I have a big smile on my face today, not just because I was right, which I typically am when it comes to the outcome of games in this town. It's the fact that you're now with me. It's like I've extended my family 2 and 3-fold. Because Giant fans now know what it's like to be Jet fans. So welcome aboard the loser train. We got plenty of time for you. 877-337-6666. I'm waiting. How long do you think? What do you think the over-under is, Evan? On a caller going, oh, yeah? You think John Mara's Jeff Wilpon? What do you have to say about Hal Steinbrenner? I think at 2:43, right about there, is when someone will call in with that little ditty.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.